and welcome to Three Kitchens, a home cooking podcast. I'm Erin Walker, here with my co-hosts, Heather Dyer.
Hello.
And Sarah Somasundaram.
Hello.
Hi. So, any big plans for the weekend coming up?
I don't think so.
Weather's great.
Oh, it feels like spring, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's 14 degrees Celsius today, and I know it's a little early, but I got my Korean barbecue stuff out, and I think we're going to do that for dinner.
Yum.
Nice.
What time? what time?
Yeah, I'm excited because we can never make that stuff in the winter, right? Because you need to be outside.
So what will you make?
I've got some pork belly.
Oh, yum.
So that's what we're going to go with the kimchi soup and rice. And wraps and lots of garlic for me.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Now, do you find that you all need to eat the garlic, or at least you and your husband both need to eat the garlic so that he's not... You're looking confused, but when my husband eats too much garlic, it's like it comes out of his pores. It's like he just stinks like garlic. Yeah. And it helps if I also eat the garlic. Yeah, so that I don't notice it quite as much.
It's very true. I agree with you, Heather. It comes out of their pores.
When they cook at the fire station, they cook with a ton of garlic. He comes home and I'm always like, oh, what did you guys eat? Yeah, you stink. Yeah.
No, I don't pre-discuss these things with my husband. Maybe I just don't care. I'm the only one in the house that eats raw garlic. I'll eat it raw. So I'm awful. So if they feel the way you feel, they haven't told me anything about it. Maybe they're being polite.
Oh no, nobody's that polite with their family. I'm sure they're good with it.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
So Erin, what do you have in store for us today?
Oh, well, I have been reminiscing and reliving our travel from a couple years ago. In 2017, I was lucky enough to travel to Argentina with my family, and we stayed in Buenos Aires for 6 weeks. And if I'm ever on death row and I have to have my last meal.
Planning for the future, are we?
I want to know what crime you've committed if you've ever been on death row. No, she hasn't thought about that part.
I haven't thought of the crime yet. They will have to fly me to Argentina to eat all the food.
I don't think they do that for death row inmates, just saying. No, they're not going to fly you across somewhere. But perhaps they can order it in.
So maybe I'll go down another path. If I'm going to die next week, I'm going to fly myself to Argentina and I'm going to eat all the food there, especially the meat, especially the dairy. Everything was cooked over fire, and they had these great grills called parrillas that they cooked over. We went out with some people we met there, and they hosted like a barbecue called an asado. It kind of reminded me of like going down to the park and using those little
those charcoal barbecues.
Yeah, you could bring your own briquette. And so we had a picnic down in the park barbecue, Argentine style.
Nice.
And all the food there was just so good. And so my husband and I have been inspired for many years by a famous Argentine chef named Francis Mallmann, since we first saw him on a Netflix show called Chef's Table, which I think maybe you guys have had a chance to tune in and watch.
No, we've never heard of Francis from Erin.
Erin's celebrity chef crush.
Yes. The way that he cooks and the way that he uses fire, it's amazing. It's something that we've gotten super excited about. We've cooked feasts for our family on the beach using an earth oven.
Nice.
We've done a whole bunch of crazy things with our new fire pit, trying to slow cook things and barbecue things. And it seems like we're always cooking over the fire. I also like to use my barbecue as a second oven. So at Thanksgiving this year, I cooked my turkey on the barbecue and it turned out marvelously. I often make pizza on the barbecue. Mm-hmm. I always make my bacon on the barbecue now.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Because I don't have to clean my oven after it splatters everywhere, which is greatest benefit of making it on the barbecue is no mess.
Oh, what a great idea.
It works fantastically.
Because I hate that mess too. Yeah.
Oh, it's the worst. So I just recently came across Francis's cookbook, 7 Fires, and ordered it for myself. and it came in the mail. I was very excited.
Yes, we remember the day that it arrived and how excited you were. My book arrived, Francis.
You know, I was like a little kid.
We tease you, but we totally get it. I mean, you watch that guy cook and the kinds of food, you just want to eat it all. Like you just, I've never been to Argentina, but I want to go there and eat all the food.
Yeah. And the attitude he has too.
Yes.
And drinking.
And drinking.
He has like giant magnums of wine.
Oh my God.
He's just constantly opening them up.
And I think we're on our third bottle, aren't we? And it's like 5 people and 3 of them are children, not even drinking. He's crazy.
I've cracked open the book. I've read through it, but I have not cooked from it yet. My son and I were sitting around looking at the book and he said, "Oh, Mom, can you make some of those empanadas that we used to have?" So that is what I'm hoping to be my inaugural recipe out of the cookbook.
Yum.
I'm going to make the glorious empanada, as he calls it, which I think it is pretty glorious.
How is a Argentine empanada different from like a British pasty or a samosa or a calzone? Like it seems like everywhere you go, there is a pastry or dough filled with something in it. Yeah. So is it a different type of pastry or dough? Or
I am assuming a yes. I'm going to tell you about his recipe and then maybe you can tell me because I don't know all the ins and outs of some of those other things you mentioned.
Oh, you know, I make them all the time.
And that's what I'm relying on. Yep.
I do not. Never have.
Oh, too funny.
So this will be my first time using one of his recipes. I have tried making an empanada before, but I didn't really follow a recipe.
Yeah.
They weren't great. I'll tell you that much. They were okay, but the dough wasn't right. The fillings were kind of dry. I know that this is all going to be fixed by Francis's guidance. Francis,
the savior.
Now, does Francis tell you to cook over a fire?
They're cooked in a wood-fired oven, but I'm going to use my barbecue as a wood-fired oven.
Yeah.
That'll be the challenge once I've assembled these things. The first thing that's really different about it is the dough. To make the empanada dough, you make something first called salmuera. So you make hot water with salt in it, and then you melt your fat in there. Allow it to cool to room temperature first.
Okay.
And then you stir your flour in.
Okay.
So I've never made a dough like that before.
No.
That seems really different to me. And then you want to chill it for at least an hour or up to 24.
Okay.
I will probably make this the day before, wrap it, and keep it in my fridge.
Are you going to use your mixer, your stand mixer?
I think so.
Okay, good.
I don't see why I should do it by hand.
Exactly. Okay, I'm happy to hear that.
Thank God. So happy to hear you say that. There's no proofing involved in this, is there? I feel like this is the theme of 3 Kitchens is proofing dough. Okay.
No, there's no proofing involved. This is just a simple dough, but different than any other dough that I've made.
You know what it reminds me a little bit of? And obviously it's not the same, but you know when you make Play-Doh and you have to get it to cook it
that's
first,
what I was thinking.
And then you mix the flour into it.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a certain type of elasticity or something you're going for.
Yeah. And this cooking with salty water thing, he says, is very common in Argentine cooking.
Okay.
But the proportions of salt to water will change from recipe to recipe.
Oh, interesting.
And so then he also has 2 different recipes for the fillings. Empanadas Mendocinas. This one is traditional to the Mendoza region, which is kind of the wine country. And then you can also do one called Empanadas Salteña. It's a bit spicier and it's from the region in Argentina known as Salta. The ones I'm going to make are going to be the Mendocina ones, and they have olives in them.
That sounds
yummy.
good.
On the day that I make the dough, I'm also going to make the filling because it recommends that the dough should sit overnight and that the filling should sit overnight. So if I make all these things the day before and then I assemble them the day I want to make them, that's going to be how I go about this.
Okay.
So the filling is stewing beef, onions, red pepper, cumin, paprika, and green onions. You add a lot of butter to your pan, cook your onions in it, and then you add your spices. And then in a separate pan, you want to dice up your stewing beef very finely. and you want to brown it in small batches. You want to mix all those things together, the meat and the onion mixture, and you want to add oregano to it. And then you want to cover it up and put it in your fridge and leave it until day 2. So that's going to be my day 1, is going to be making the dough and then making this filling.
Yeah.
On day 2, you roll out the dough.
Okay.
This is a similar process to what you did when you made your baos. You
Right.
just cut out circles,
Yes.
either with a cup, or if you have a circle cutter, you went out and bought too many cookie cutters. Sarah?
I'll give you a whole, I
Oh.
have a whole bunch of sizes. So I'll just give
Okay,
you the
I would
whole
love
thing.
to borrow some. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to roll out the
So
dough.
this is in 2 days from now, correct? Not tomorrow, but
Not
2
tomorrow.
days from now.
Exactly. A few days. It's going to take me a while to get this all set.
All right.
So you also need to hard boil eggs and chop up olives. Take your circles, place your filling in, place a pinch of hard boiled egg,
Okay.
it's a pinch of olives, and you place a little pinch of butter.
Oh, that sounds so good.
And then you fold it into
your little half circle. Yeah.
you make your little half circle moon. You fold it and seal it. And then you bake it in a 350 degree oven,
Barbecue.
for 15 to 17 minutes.
Oh, that's not very hot. Like I would have thought that it would have been
It's
hotter.
not a really hot one, and that one surprised me too. I didn't realize it was more of a medium oven rather than a high.
Yeah.
But I think I can easily do that because I've done that on my barbecue before. You can also fry them, but I don't have a deep fryer or much experience with frying. So I'm just going to go with the baking. It's a whole bunch of butter to make these guys.
And that's why they're going to taste so good.
So
and
good.
he says
butter.
they should be drippy and you should be slurping them when you eat them. So you should be dripping and slurping.
Slurping all the butter up.
I'm making a face because I hate that sound of like slurp.
Don't worry. We don't have to see each other do this.
You don't really slurp an empanada. Like, do you really think it's going to be like sloppy?
So when you bite into it, it should be so juicy in the middle that you kind of have to like slurp it as you go to take your next bites. He describes this in his book. Children are always told not to slurp their food. This is not true for this recipe. You need to slurp this recipe. And so your empanadas should be
slurpable. So that's how you would know if they were too dry.
Yeah, I've never been able to recreate it, but it definitely was really good when we had them.
When you had them in Argentina, which one did you have?
The thing is that empanadas change from region to region, from house to house, from store to store.
Gotcha.
We only ever stayed in Buenos Aires for that time. So I could not tell you what kind I ate, what was in them.
Right.
All I know is I had them and they were really tasty.
And were they slurpy?
They were messy. But we weren't eating them by hand. We were eating them with forks and knives.
Oh, is that how they do it?
Apparently you can just eat them by hand.
I cannot see Francis eating it with a fork and knife. I think he's like totally eating with his hands. With one's in his hand, the other hand is this giant bottle of wine. And he's got the two going.
Exactly.
I expect
that's probably it.
You don't drink wine. I was going to say, I expect you to have a giant bottle when you eat your empanadas.
I want to drink wine and eat empanadas now.
Yes,
you guys always do this to me. Like nothing seems to be, like, I'm never satisfied with my dinner every time I talk about these things with you.
Are you kidding me? You're having Korean barbecue.
That's true.
I'm having
It'll be good.
Tacos with the kids because it's just me and the kids. Trust me.
Tacos are good.
That's still good.
No, that sounds delicious. It sounds really good. I like the olive.
Oh,
that sudden olive in that beef, that which is probably really savory, and then you get that olive with that little bit of like that acidic kind of.
Yes, it's that little pop.
Yeah.
And is there some kind of sauce or dip or no? It's not a salsa type of.
No, there's no salsa. It is all contained within that empanada. We'll see how I do with this.
They love their meat, Argentinian. Because I'm just
their meat is by far the best meat I've ever eaten before. It was always so fresh. I mean, we saw people unloading vans that had halves of cows in them. that they were taking into the butcher shop, and then the butcher was serving that to you. I mean, so good.
My husband wishes that I cooked less with meat, and I just don't know what that looks like. I'm really like, I love meat.
Yeah, we're big meat eaters in our house too.
And honestly, I love red meat more than anything else, but I'm just careful about eating too much of it, and it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to make enough that you have a sample for us?
Yes, the recipe says it makes 24. So I'm hoping that
I'll take 12.
I'm hoping that my hungry family will not eat all of them. I will reserve a couple to the side so that you guys can try some. I will give them to you covertly so that your family does not know about it, Heather, and you don't have to share.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll have to find a quiet secret spot to slurp them.
Yes.
I'll send you napkins too.
Sounds good. We'll be in the corner of the schoolyard. Pick up slurping our empanadas. Good luck, Erin.
Thank you. Yes. I'm going to go spend a couple days trying to figure out this dough. I think the filling sounds easy, but I know that I'm going to have to be careful with the meat so that I don't overcook it. And when we come back, we'll see how this journey went.
Good luck on your 2 or 3 day journey.
Campfire season is almost here. Check out Francis Mallmann's book, 7 Fires, Grilling the Argentine Way, for great suggestions on cooking over the fire and how you can adapt his recipes for the home cook too.
Welcome back. We're here to find out how the empanadas turned out, Erin.
Yep. I've been bugging Erin all day, asking her what's been happening.
They were really good.
Yay.
Yeah, it's definitely well worth it. I was really happy with how they turned out. I did choose to make them over a 2-day period. I think anyone who wants to take this on would want to do it over a 2-day period. I think it explains a lot about the Argentine lifestyle. Because if you were going to make this all in one day, I would definitely need a siesta after the first part. And you definitely would not be eaten till midnight. Because it was a lot of work. It probably took me longer too, because I'm very unfamiliar with how to fold them properly and working with the dough. And so let's dig in. I cooked everything using a cast iron skillet, which was really nice to use. For the filling, I was able to use some rendered bacon fat that I had in my fridge.
Okay.
So that went into the filling, which I think made that filling extra yummy.
Mm-hmm.
When you make the filling part, it's got 4 scallions, green onions.
Mm-hmm.
He very specifically tells you to dice the scallions and keep the white and green parts separate.
Mm-hmm.
You cook the white parts in, and then at the end, once everything's done, you add the green parts in. I've never done this before. Is this pretty common technique? I see Sarah nodding, and I know she goes through green onions frequently because her husband's always complaining about his going to get more green onions.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. So I had never done that before.
So is it because when you get to the green end, it's almost more of a leaf, like it's more of a garnish, right?
Yeah, it's more of a garnish.
Yeah.
And I think the flavor must be different too up there.
Slightly, yeah.
So in a whole bunch of fat, you cook up your onions. You don't let them brown. Then you add your spices and the white scallions. You saute for a little bit longer, and then you turn it off and stir in your green scallion pieces and salt and pepper to taste. So he recommends about 8 minutes. I would say that's about what it took, somewhere between 8 and 10 minutes.
Okay.
For the beef part, I only have one nice cast iron skillet. So I cooked all the onion stuff in the cast iron skillet, dumped it into a pan, and then wiped it down, cleaned it up, popped it back on the stove, and thought I was ready for the beef part. But no, the 1 pound of stewing beef was diced into 1/8-inch pieces.
Good thing you have that nice Japanese steel to slice that baby up.
Well, sadly it's getting a bit dull. I need to straighten it or sharpen it because dicing a pound of beef took a long time.
Yeah.
He says if you use a ground beef, it has too much water in it and it won't fry up right. It will make your filling blah. I mean, he says it's worth it. I'm not 100% sure. I'd like to try it with ground beef and just be lazy.
Try it and see if it's a difference.
Yeah. I mean, you can get some of those like ground rounds and ground sirloin. So you can get like a higher quality ground beef. So maybe using that would do it, because it was definitely, it looked like I turned beef into ground beef by hand. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I browned those in the pan in half cup batches. I'm still learning on that little cast iron guy. So
I think the pan gets hotter
Mm-hmm.
as you use it. So that's what you find at the beginning. You think, oh, this is not hot enough. You turn it up and you're like, this is too hot. That happens a lot with cast iron because it takes some time for the pan to heat up.
I think I could have been more patient with that. And it also seemed like the pan couldn't get too hot because all I really wanted to do was brown those little tiny chunks of meat without letting the moisture come out, which is kind of a tricky thing.
Sounds like a lot of work already.
It was a lot of work. I was very careful about it because I'm not familiar with all these steps super well. So I was trying my best to be as true to the recipe as possible. And I did this while I didn't have to parent. So I could put all my attention on this. So I made my filling, let it all cool down, mixed it together, put it in my fridge and left it for the next day. And then I made the dough for the empanadas. So I boiled water with salt in it. Then I took my butter and put it into the salted boiling water and turned off the heat, and it melted into the water. And I popped it into my stand mixer bowl, and I just let it sit until it cooled to room temperature like it recommends. If I would have been a little bit more organized, I would have done that whole salting, melting step first, put it in my thing, and then started working on my filling, because it took quite a while for the hot water to cool to the point where I could start adding flour to it. The mixer did its thing. So it was a very different dough making process than I had done in the past. He says you want a dry, stiff dough. You divide it in half, put it into discs, wrap it in plastic, and chill it for at least an hour or up to 24. So again, I made this beforehand. I put it all in my fridge. So that was day one. It was, again, not that hard. I just spent a lot of time and was very attentive to what I was doing. It would get easier as time went on and if you knew what you were doing. So day two, take your dough out of the fridge, cut it into 4 pieces, roll out your dough really thin. You roll it out and it kind of elasticizes back. And so it is a lot of work to roll this dough out.
Could you have put it through your pasta maker thing that...
Yes, I could have.
There you go.
The one that I'm holding in my house.
Oops.
It currently isn't in my possession, but it does recommend in here that you can use a pasta roller to roll it out to get it really thin. You want to cut, he recommends a 3.5-inch circle. That seemed small, especially when I compared it to the pictures of him showing you how to fold it. It covers the person's whole hand past their fingertips. That's more than a 3.5-inch circle. So I don't know if maybe that's the radius rather than the diameter.
Maybe Francis has unusually small.
Yes, I was gonna
hands.
say maybe he has
No,
small
it's
hands.
not him. It's a lady that's holding it.
Maybe it's
in
not.
the picture.
Maybe those are not women's hands. Those are his hands.
But I see all of her. So I'm really sure.
You're ruining this, Erin.
Sorry.
Both of you.
So I would recommend, next time I would do a bigger circle. So maybe an inch bigger. I would do maybe a 4 to a 4.5-inch circle. Once you've got it rolled out and you've cut out your circles once, you really can't bring it back together and roll it out again very easily. It becomes so hard to work with. I did try it and made some empanadas with it, and the dough was like way tougher. It didn't cook as good. So I would say you have one shot to roll out that dough and cut your pieces out as good as possible. I would like to try the pasta maker next time I do this.
So you want it back? Darn it.
When you make this, since you have my pasta maker,
yes,
I would say use pasta maker. And thank you, Sarah, for the circle cutters. They made my life a lot easier.
I should have brought the pasta roller.
So I cut out all of these circles, stacked them on my counter. Just before I started filling them, I went and turned on my barbecue. I placed my baking or cooking steel in the middle. I only heated it up with my 2 side burners up to about 400 and then turned it back down to 350. And I was able to actually maintain that 350 really easily. And then by keeping that middle burner off, my steel doesn't exceed that temperature. Because I find when that middle burner is on, it overheats my steel and I get burning on the bottom, but not enough browning and cooking all around.
Right.
To assemble the empanadas, you put a healthy tablespoon of filling in the middle. You add a pinch of diced hard-boiled egg and another pinch of green olives that have been diced up. And just to finish it off with a little more fat, you also take a dot of butter, he describes it as. And then you wrap it up. I don't think I got any better at wrapping the empanadas as time went on. I tried their methods of folding and following what their fingers were doing. Something I'm not super good at, something that took me a long time to get them to seal. Some of them didn't seal, but we got empanadas. It's okay.
Some of them didn't seal. Did you use water to sort of wet the edges as well? Or
Yep, I did wet the edges. I don't know, the way that they're folded, some of the filling would leak out while I was cooking.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they just went on the barbecue. I put parchment paper down on my steel, 15 to 17 minutes, and boom, they came in. They were smoking hot. I kind of liked that some of the oil leaked out of my poorly wrapped ones, because then it kind of fried them as they were cooking on the barbecue. And I would almost say next time I might put down some oil or something on the parchment and then just flip them while I cook them, because then it would almost fry the dough. Let's get some more fat on this, right? Ooh, we haven't got enough
more
fat
of that
yet.
Bacon fat and put that down there.
Absolutely. They were filling. They were delicious. They were juicy and bubbly. They were too hot to eat for a little while. And I'd bite into it and burn myself and then be like, oh, I have to wait.
Yeah.
They were good when they were hot and they came out of the oven. They were good last night when they were cold, but still on the counter. And I munched on a couple more. I want to know what you thought, because I packed you a little paper bag for lunch.
It was so good. I've been waiting for this since you started talking about it. And it's been hard. And I don't know how I knew that it was going to be good and how I knew that I was going to love them. But it was everything that I hoped for and more. I loved them. I love the filling. I love the amount of olives in it. Ooh. I loved the creaminess of the egg. I loved everything about it. I was so surprised about the dough, and I have a few questions about it, but I'll let Heather talk for a bit. Because I'll go on and on about this.
Oh, I liked it too. I put them in the oven, like you said. I got a little distracted, and I think they were in maybe a few minutes longer than I would have liked.
Right.
That may be why they were not juicy. There was certainly no slurping happening. I don't know if that was the reason, or if maybe it's just because it's the next day and it's come together. But Sarah, were yours slurpable?
I don't think that they were very slurpable, but it could have been just because it was, all that slurpy stuff kind of got absorbed into the bread.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is as a leftover, they not quite the same.
Super slurpable. Even they were just kind of, I mean, my husband did bite into a couple where it was kind of running down his hands. And I was like, oh, I made them juicy enough. And I would say they're not dry inside, which is...
No, they're not dry. No.
They were not dry. No.
That's all I'm trying to avoid is dryness.
Yes, and I was prepared for this slurping thing that you talked about. Like Sarah said, I love the olives. I love the egg in there.
Yeah.
The meat was I thought perfectly cooked. When I took it out, I was like, oh, they're so tiny. I somehow had in my head is maybe a bigger empanada.
And the ones he pictures is a lot bigger. So I feel like I would make bigger circles next time and put more filling in them.
I mean, I was glad to have two because I was like, oh, it's so tiny. But I get two, so it's good.
There you go.
Yes, really yummy. I totally, even though I'm not the dough master that you guys are, I would absolutely want to make these.
This is a dough that anyone can make because it was really simple. It doesn't take kneading. It doesn't take proofing.
That rolling business sounds like not my cup of tea.
Pasta machine.
Yes, I will borrow the pasta machine and then I will make them.
We knew we'd get it to enter your house, Heather. We knew we could get you to use it.
Now I have to share the pasta machine with 2 people.
But it's my pasta machine.
I know. I got a quick couple of questions.
Okay, ask away and I'll figure out if I know anything.
Okay, empanadas are not just from Argentina, correct? They are from a few countries in Central America.
I would imagine so. He calls them the most typical food you find in Argentina.
Okay.
I would think the fillings would be the thing that varies region to region.
Right, because I had a few colleagues who used to make empanadas, and they used to bring them to the office and share with us. And I think they were from Central America, or their families were, I mean. Their empanadas looked a lot different from the dough you made. So maybe they deep fried it.
Okay.
But theirs was golden.
Mm-hmm.
And yours was more white. But then you did mention that he said you could fry them.
Yeah, the dough could be fried or it could be baked. I definitely think that would change how they turn out.
The texture would be a little different.
Texture would be different. And did he say to bake it in an oven, or did he say to bake it out on a barbecue?
His recommendation on this is a wood-fired oven, which they call horno de barro, I believe. He says that the substitution for a home cook would be using their oven. You know, me and my barbecue thing. I kind of use my barbecue as an outdoor oven. I thought I'd try it on there.
I bet your barbecue had a better result. I would bet.
I feel like my barbecue's better than my oven. I can control it better, I feel.
Yeah.
So there was no talk about putting a wash or a oil on it or anything like that?
Nope. I also was thinking
So that could be the difference region to region, right? I love the dough. I love the filling. I love that they were small because they're packable. Right?
I was thinking as I was eating mine, how good it would be like on a hike or when you're out and about, like a picnic where you can just grab them easy on the go. And because they're not making a mess until you bite into it, maybe, right? They are contained. Yeah, I thought that would be perfect.
You did a great job.
Yes,
I'm
good job.
So excited how well this worked out.
Okay, well, thank you, Erin. This was fantastic.
Yes. No problem. I was so happy to do this and share it with you guys. I want to make more.
And we are here for it. We are here to eat them.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
And now for the fine print. You can find pictures and recipe links on Instagram and Facebook at 3 Kitchens Podcast. Feel free to leave us a comment or a suggestion for future episodes. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you like and subscribe, that helps more people find us.
This is really good.